Hello, this is Justin Williams with the Wolfpacker Podcast. I'm joined today, as always, by co-host Matt Carter, and we also have a very special guest, former Wolfpack offensive lineman Joe Sculthorpe and future Pack Pro Joe Sculthorpe. But before we get started with this podcast, this episode is brought to you in part by JFQ Lending. With interest rates below 3%, there has never been a better time to lock in a low fixed interest rate on your mortgage. You'll never need to think about refinancing again. Set it and forget it. And with JFQ Lending, you are guaranteed to get the highest level of customer service. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and over 3,000 5-star reviews. Give Gage Kistner a call today at 480-401-1681 or email Gage directly at gkistner@jfqlending.com. That's the letter G, KISTNER at jfqlending.com. JFQ Lending, Inc., Equal Access Lender, licensed in over 40 states, www.jfqlending.com. And please remember to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to us. We're on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Google Play, pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. Plus, you can listen to us on the wolfpacker.com, where you should take advantage of a deal that is quickly running out. Use promo code PACK5. That's PACK5. You can head over to the wolfpacker.com right now. You get 1 month. Pay for 1 month. You get 4 additional months for free. So 5 months for the price of 1. Go take advantage of that deal now. Well, without further ado, let's get right into it. Introducing our guest, Joe Sculthorpe. As I already mentioned, future Pack Pro Joe Sculthorpe, former offensive lineman. And Joe, I told you right before we started this, I had a hard-pressing question for you, so here it goes. We were talking to you last Monday for Pro Day, or maybe it was this Monday. Time is kind of a blur right now, Joe. But anyways, you were talking about your plans after Pro Day. We were talking a little bit about the nutrition and the training, and you said famously, it's a bad day to be a piece of fried chicken after Pro Day. So, Joe, did you get your fried chicken, and where did you get your fried chicken if the answer to the first question is yes?
Yeah, I definitely got my fried chicken. Eating clean for 10, 11 weeks up in Boston, you get fantasies about what you're going to eat afterwards. So yeah, I was dreaming about fried chicken, and as soon as I got back home in South Carolina, my mom hooked me up. We had the full spread. We had some fried chicken, we had some mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, green beans. We had the whole 9 yards, man. And there was definitely no leftovers after all that. So it definitely was a bad day to be a piece of fried chicken.
Well, I'm sure nothing beats Mama's home cooking, but when you're back in Raleigh, where would you get your fried chicken? Where was the best fried chicken in Raleigh, according to Joe Sculthorpe?
Ooh, the best fried chicken in Raleigh. That's a hard question, man. We didn't really go out for fried chicken all that much while I was at Raleigh.
Yeah,
we would go out to eat in all the classic spots, though, man. It's kind of hard to pick, man. We would. Me and a couple of buddies, we would tear up restaurants every now and then whenever we'd get the chance to have some free time. But we became some regulars at a couple spots, a couple sushi spots actually. That was kind of our favorite food to go out and eat. Sushi 9, classic spot. Spring Rolls is close to the stadium, so we would swing by there for lunch every now and again. But yeah, there was never a shortage of. We were never hungry out in Raleigh, that's for sure.
I'm sure that was a nerve-wracking moment for the chefs in the back when they see the NC State offensive line rolling up into a restaurant. It's time to get to work because I can imagine you guys can put back some sushi rolls.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not an easy day for the chefs whenever we get into any restaurant. That's for sure.
But Joe, I'm going to take you way back. Like you and I have known each other since you were like a sophomore or junior in high school. So before we kind of get to the fun stuff about the draft and all of that, and kind of take a stroll down memory lane. And I want to recall one of my first memories of you. I don't know if you even remember this specifically, but you were going to a Shrine Bowl combine. I think it was like an invite-only Shrine Bowl combine. And you were late. There were all these NC State guys. We were going to get together for a photo. When you came in towards the end before it started, do you remember why? I'm saying this to embarrass your father a little bit. Do you remember why you were late for the Shrine Bowl combine?
I don't know. Don't remember the specifics, but my dad probably had a funny thing to say.
Had something to do with the speeding ticket on the way to the combine. So.
Oh yeah, it was a speeding ticket. Oh
yeah.
My gosh. Oh yeah, that was funny. Golly. That's crazy. That's crazy. You remember that? I don't even remember that. That was.
Well, I remember because we were waiting to get the photo of all you got. There was about 5 or 6 commitments, and you were the last one that was expected to show up. And kind of like, they're getting ready to start this thing here in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is he even going to show up, or should we? No. What do you remember? I'm going to say, what do you remember about going back to the camp when you got your offer from NC State? The beginning of your journey to NC State. What do you remember about those days and what that was like?
So I remember walking into the main hallway, the entranceway for anyone visiting the Murphy Center, filling out the paperwork. We go through into the weight room. We got our height and weight. And when I finished getting my height and weight checked, this man came up to me, introduced himself. He was he turns out to be the offensive line coach at that time, Coach Yermovich, who he came up and introduced himself. I didn't even think nothing twice about it. I didn't even know he was the offensive line coach. He was like, hey, I'm excited to get you out there some drills, excited to see you work. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm really cool. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know nothing. I was like, yes sir. I was just so excited to be there at the camp. And we go through all the stuff. We're out there warming up. And, you kind of always like see and hear about people on TV. You don't really know what it's like when you're going to meet them in person. So we're doing the warm-up drills. We're walking through the warm-up lines. And Coach Dorn comes up to me, and he just shakes my hand. He's like, hey, excited to see you out there today. And I was, at the time, in the moment, I didn't even realize that I was talking to the head coach. I was just like so locked into the drills. I was kind of not brushing them off, but like I was like trying to focus on getting warmed up before we get out there. And then when we got to our first break, I go over to my dad, and my dad was like, "What did Coach Dorn want?" I was like, "I didn't talk to Coach Dorn yet. What are you talking about?" He's like, he came up to you literally in the warm up lines. You didn't even talk to him. I was like, "Oh my god!" I didn't even realize the time for a moment. I was like, "What?" That was Coach Dorn. Then we go through. I had a pretty good day. Coach Yu at the time, he showed me around the building, showed me around the facilities. Takes me up to the 4th floor, Coach Dorn's office. He sits me down. He's like, I want you to come play football for me. You have a scholarship if you want it. And, I think it was a few months later. Wasn't even a year later, I ended up committing to state. So seems like a lifetime ago, but it definitely, the memory still is pretty sharp in my head for sure.
Go ahead, Justin.
Well, I definitely want to get to, taking you through a trip down memory lane for your time at NC State, but I kind of want to check in and just kind of give the listeners a refresher on what you've been up to recently. Back to January, we talked to you on your pro day media availability, and you mentioned how you went to Honolulu, played in the football game there, and then you went up to Boston, did some training up there, and you said you're back home now. So kind of just take us through, what a day in the life has been for you, post NC State football as you kind of get ready to go to and turn into a pro.
So after the game ended in Jacksonville, the bowl game against the UK, I got back to Raleigh, packed up all my stuff, drove down to South Carolina, dropped all my stuff off, got my luggage, and I think it wasn't even 48 hours after the bowl game, I was flying up to Boston to start training. So I got to Boston. We trained there for, it was like 3 or 4 weeks before I heard I got an invite to the Hula Bowl. Then I began the very long and frustrating process of flying across the country with, a few 4-hour layovers and getting to Hawaii. And it was everything that you would always expect it to be. Hawaii, just a beautiful state. Unfortunately, we didn't get due to COVID stuff, we didn't really get that much chances to kind of go out and explore the other islands. But we were at Honolulu for the majority of the time, and it was really beautiful. The water was bathtub warm, man, and it was just a good time. It was good getting out there, meeting some other players from across the country, playing against new talent and showcasing just what I could do to any scouts that were there watching. It was a great opportunity, and I really was fortunate enough to get the chance to go out there. But then after that, that was pretty much like the midway point in my pro day training. Then after that, flew back to Boston, and finished off training there. The people up in Athletic Evolution in Boston, they did a fantastic job. I couldn't be fortunate enough to get there and train. Got a lot of personal attention that I needed to do, go out on pro day and do the best I can. And then after pro day a week ago, came back down here, tore up some fried chicken, and then just been training, going to a local gym and getting on the field, just keeping everything sharp before draft day.
And what was the connection up in Boston? It seems, I mean, I know you're kind of a Carolina guy. You're in South Carolina now. You're from North Carolina. So what was the connection up to Boston?
So my agent he has a connection up there to where he's had success in the past. The T.Y. McGill, the defensive lineman out of state, he's been around so many teams. I don't really know where he's at right now. But he trained up there, and they put me and T.Y. We talked for a brief moment on the phone. He told me, you can go to all these flashy places and kind of get put in the shadows, or you can go up there and just get your work done, and they're going to get you right. So I took his advice. I took advice from the agent, and I went out there, and I didn't regret my decision one bit. I didn't like the snow. It was kind of cold up there, man. It's freezing my butt off a little bit, but you get used to it a little bit, and then you're inside working most of the day anyway, so it don't even matter.
Do you think the training, once you went up to Boston, you started preparing for, your pro stock and everything? I mean, how different is the training compared to the college level? Because, I mean, obviously you probably had a pretty solid start with your strength and conditioning background with Coach Thunder. So was it really difficult for you, or was it kind of a just slight adjustment?
I don't want to say I was surprised, but it was pretty crazy how similar our training programs were from NC State with Coach Thunder and to going into pro day training, combine training, whatever you want to call it. It was dang near identical stuff of what we were doing. Coach Thunder, he does a great job. I was a big Coach Thunder fan. I feel like he does a great job with our strength and conditioning program at NC State, giving guys, the fundamental groundwork to be able to perform on the field. I would say the only difference was just there was a little bit more individualized attention, which, when you're training 120 guys at NC State, you can't really get that luxury. But that was pretty much the only difference. But other than that, I felt I hit the ground running up there. I didn't feel like I had to, get that much more play catch up that much. But I thought it was just an easy transition, I guess, from college, strength and conditioning to pro day training.
And how was your pro day experience? Do you feel like you did a pretty good job on pro day? And also, I mean, just going in, just being in front of all those scouts and everything, I'm sure it's something that when you were a younger player in college, you kind of looked at the older guys going through that, and probably a pretty cool experience getting out there on pro day and having your own showcase of talents.
Yeah, I was excited. It's weird. I felt like I had a solid pro day. Some things I wish I could do a little bit better on, but I don't think it was all that bad. I got to showcase just check some boxes that people were kind of hesitant about in terms of like lateral movement, foot speed, stuff like that were kind of holding me back in my just overall draft grade. Being able to showcase that, I am an athlete and I can move, and I should try to move, show off that lateral movement as much as possible, and give myself the best foot I can to get myself in the door at the professional level. So I just try to give myself a shot.
I tell you, how much have you worked on snapping and being a center, and how much do you think that could help you with your chances in the NFL?
So all throughout my college career, I was always the backup center, and
right.
Even when Bradbury was there, I was actually in the lineup. I was the backup center, even though I was rotating in guard at the time. But as you kind of guys saw the bowl game against UK, unfortunately, when Grant Gibson, our center, he got injured a little bit, I was able to go right in and just fill the spot. So I've always worked on center. I've always been comfortable with it. I wouldn't say I was working on it more over the course of training, because it's just something I can just do, and I can just focus on all drills equally. Being able to be that versatile interior offensive lineman that teams are kind of seeing me as, and being able to play any position at any given snap. And that's just kind of where I think I set myself apart from everyone else. I can just the fluidity and transitioning in between all three of those interior positions.
you had that decision. I mean, you could have come back for another year at NC State. I mean, kind of a gift, I guess you could say, from the NCAA. I mean, how was that decision-making process like for you? When did you start kind of mulling it over and trying to figure out what you want to do, and just what was that like for you?
So I didn't think about it or start really thinking about it until the last regular season game. Mm-hmm. I told all the coaches, I'm like, it's not gonna, it's not gonna do no good thinking about it, 4 months ahead of time. So I just focused on the season, tried to play the best ball I could. And then when it got to after the last game, and we had some time on our hands, I started, going through my inner circle, just talking to people, seeing like getting every feedback I could, talking to coaches, talking to my parents, talking to my mom and dad, friends, just trying to get the biggest perspective on the situation I could. And at the end of the day, it was really just, self-reflection. And you got to ask yourself, what more, or if you're trying to take the next step to go professional football, what more are you going to get out of it in terms of coming back? Fortunately, I was able to get my degree, completed a graduate certificate. So schooling wasn't that much, as a pullback. I already, got what I gained there for in terms of academics. It was a hard decision, probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to face up until this point. Just getting that stuff out there and just trying to see what would be the best situation for me. And fortunately enough, I came to the decision, I'm going to forego the gifted COVID year or whatever they're calling it now from the NCAA, and just shoot my shot in the NFL, give myself, I feel like I played the best ball I could. And I don't know if there's any much more I can do to showcase just talents. I thought I put everything I could out there, and I think, sometimes it's time to pull the trigger. It's time to pull the trigger now and get out there. And fortunately enough, I don't regret my decision at all. I was very fortunate to have a great family at NC State, great surrounding, great coaching staff. And after the decision was made, coaches came up to me, obviously they wanted me to come back, and I wouldn't have mind coming back here. I love NC State, but, in just terms of your life, you got to move on. You can't stay in one place forever. And you got to keep trying to climb that hill so you can be at the top one day.
Well, Joe, these next 4 weeks are going to be big for you, and I can imagine they're probably going to be pretty nerve-wracking as the draft gets closer and closer. So I'm curious, a lot of people have different, plans on draft day. They do different stuff. Some people want to be surrounded by family. Some people just want to go out and fish and be left alone. What do you have any draft day plans, what you're going to be doing over that weekend? Have you decided yet, or is it still up in the air?
I don't have any big plans. Probably going to be in the house with mom and dad. Probably be killing some snacks. I'll tell you that. Try to just get through those couple days, just getting through it. The anticipation, trying to hearing that phone ring and discovering if what you did was enough to get you to live your dreams. But no big plans. Probably just hanging out with mom and dad. Family wants to come by, more than welcome. I'm not going to try to isolate myself, put myself in the corner, bang my head against the wall, just waiting for my phone to ring. But you know what I mean? So just trying to, just have one of those relaxing days where you just try to take your mind off of everything, realize, it's the next step in your career or in your life, and, whatever happens.
Well, I'm just thankful I won't be a piece of fried chicken that weekend. But what are the next few weeks looking like for you? Are you going to be, just chilling in South Carolina, just doing some training, staying in shape and everything? Or is there any big events coming up between now and the draft days?
Just trying to stay busy with my days, go from jam-packed days of working out and training to back home, trying to stay on top of just keeping busy. So I have a workout plan given from my trainer up in Boston, so I can't be up there right now, but following it to what I can do down here, it's easy to find an open field out where I'm at in the middle of South Carolina. Easy, got a good gym. I'm just a regular down the road gym. I can do all my weightlifting stuff, get on the field, do all my running, do all my skill work, all that stuff. Just so whenever I know where I'm going, I'm not playing catch up again with everyone else. I'm hitting the ground rolling to give myself that next step advantage I can to succeed.
I want to take you back to your younger days. I know a lot of people realize you grew up near the beach, or at least you went to high school near the beach. What's it like growing up And, you know, if you ever wanted to go to the ocean, all you had to do was you could probably walk there or at least, I mean, what's that like? 'Cause a lot of us, you know, we always say, oh, we want to live at the beach. I mean, isn't that what everyone says? So what's it like to actually live at the beach?
So grew up small town, Hampstead, North Carolina. It's pretty much the highway that runs in between Wilmington and Topsail Island. 15 minutes down the road from the beach. So anytime I wanted, we just down the beach. Unfortunately, living in that small town by the beach, you kind of only realize the only thing you can do is go to the beach. So people that, people that don't live there, they get like, oh man, it must be nice going to the beach every day. I mean, you can only go to the beach. I mean, you can go to the beach so many times before you realize, man, I want to do something else. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It's definitely nice during the summer months, hot months. You get out there, go out, just hang out on the beach, soak up some sun and hit the waves a little bit, whatever you want to do. It was a nice community. Even up to this day, it was a small town, so people from back home kind of hit me up now, just wishing me good luck in the upcoming weeks and stuff. So I feel very blessed to come from such a situation where you can kind of be within that kind of family where if I go back home, I wouldn't feel alone in the middle of the town. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely a great growing up. Growing up there through middle school, high school, and stuff like that. But honestly, I wouldn't want to trade it for anything else. As my youth, or whatever you want to call it, growing up back in high school, I thought I had a good time. I was definitely fortunate to be enough to live near the beach, back on around Topsail Island for sure.
And then probably a lot of people don't know you were a really good wrestler in high school. Hey, do you think you could get back on the mat now and hold your own in a wrestling match?
I could probably hold my own. I don't know about any of these some of these college heavyweights we got going on here. It's a different breed. I never really thought myself as a wrestler. My wrestling coach, my freshman year in high school, he told me, he was like, if you wrestle, one, you're going to win a state championship, and two, you're going to get a scholarship to play football. So I always kind of did wrestling as something to make me a better football player, which is weird because I was doing it my whole life. So whatever. Yeah, I don't know if I could do good against these heavyweights, but I could definitely give them a run for their money. I think it's definitely been a while since I stepped on the mat and laced up the boots to go through periods. But we'll see. Maybe fortunately, maybe enough I might get the chance to get back into it one day.
Well, Joe, that makes me. Well, I was just saying, it makes me think, Joe, when you're playing on Sundays, you'll have to ask Rob Gronkowski how the transition to the WWE is, because I mean, there is a track record of NFL players getting on the mat. With your wrestling background, it just makes sense.
But I was going to ask Joe. You actually did wrestle a famous person in high school. I guess he's famous now in high school. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about the memory of you wrestled Nick Coe, right? Didn't you wrestle Nick Coe?
Yeah.
Who obviously went down to Auburn.
Yeah. We wrestled my junior year in the semifinals match. He beat me by 1 point.
Yeah, I think you got a stall call, right? You're not with the difference in the match.
Yeah, he didn't. It was a stalling point. He got the 1 point, and that was it. So
yeah,
but
Nick Coe in the NFL now.
Yeah, where's the last? Was it the Patriots that picked him up? I think
so. Yeah.
I'm not too positive. I haven't really, we weren't like buddies or nothing, so I didn't really keep up with him. But definitely. I know my last time I heard about it, he definitely got picked up as like a free agent, I think, or something like that. I'm not too sure. He might have got drafted late.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up on my phone. Wow, he's with the Dolphins now. He played with the Patriots last year and then got picked up by the Dolphins. So kind of weird that two high school wrestlers going at his junior year in high school in the state of North Carolina, and now they might both be in the NFL.
It's crazy how the world works sometimes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Do you think the wrestling helped you, to be a college offensive lineman and future pro offensive lineman? I mean, is there a lot of fundamentals that you can take and use towards the other?
Well, I'll tell you this. Coach Yu, who initially recruited me in NC State, he told me after Coach Dorn gave me the offer, that one of the big reasons why they're offering me was just because I was a state champion wrestler at the time. So, I mean, that probably tells you nothing there is. You can definitely see there's definitely transitions from or things that kind of flow over in terms of just, pad level, center of gravity, limiting or getting leverage on other opponent, stuff like that. Does give you the edge. They're pretty similar in, just the strength and muscle trying to move someone around, and the technique you kind of got to use to become a good wrestler. It all just kind of carries over, kind of just slowly melds into one big happy family of whooping ass, I guess. I don't really know what else you want to call it.
Wasn't Icky a wrestler too back in high school?
Yeah.
Or maybe that was. I don't know if you guys ever got on the mat or wrestled around on the field a little bit, a little horseplay out there.
Yeah, we would play around, horse around on the field, but we never full on wrestled or nothing like that. I think Icky was a state champ too. I think. I know he was a good wrestler, but we never really got on the mat, but we would always play around, and stuff in the locker room, stuff like that.
Who do you think would win if you guys had an official wrestling match?
I'd whoop it. I don't know. I'd probably whoop his butt a little bit. Okay. I'm not gonna let him try to beat me.
Okay.
But he probably say he whooped my butt too if you ask him the same question. So
fair enough. You're both competitors. Matt, did you have something else?
Well, I was going to ask that in your 4 years of playing at NC State. I mean, you were there for 5 years, but your 4 years on the field. Is there a favorite moment, a favorite block? I mean, it's hard because offensive linemen don't get a lot of notoriety, obviously. So, is there a block or a play that you made in your time and you're like, man, that was freaking awesome? I hope the coaches see that on film.
Yeah. There's a couple of those blocks you just you kind of sustain down the field. You're really fired up about. But I'll tell you one that sticks out the most. My very first college snap against South Carolina down in Charlotte. We were at the time I was it was my redshirt freshman year, so second year at NC State. I had a good camp, had a good spring the following before the spring, had a good fall. Coach Ledford at the time, he's like, we're gonna start rotating you in. So I was the backup guard, either or, whatever happens. We go down. Big T, he ended up getting, I think he got hurt or something. He was battling through an injury. It was the first, or not the first drive. It was the first drive. They were, I think it was like 9 or 10 plays in already. Right. Big T, he goes down. My name gets called up, and Charlotte, Panther Stadium filled up against South Carolina. Opening first game of the season. Fans there, and 19-year-old Joe is like eyes wide open, not knowing what's about to happen. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, it was third. I think the situation it was a passing situation where we had a lot of yards to make up. And I'm like, please have the slide called me, so I have inside help. And we ended up calling 5-man protection. The slide went away from me, and I realized I'm 1-on-1 with a D tackle from South Carolina. And I'm like, oh, this is it. This is it. Ball, and I'm just like, all the adrenaline's busting through the roof, all that. Hands shaking a little bit, just anxious to get that first hit out the way. We go, ball snapped. I kick back, a kick set, and I don't even think I touched the guy. He just runs around, and he goes around, and I don't even think I touched the guy. Once, I think I maybe put one hand on him, and I'm like, all right, that was the first play out the way, and then just got into the groove of playing ball. So my very first snap of college football, I don't even think I touched the guy. And then, that definitely sticks out in my mind. No, he definitely didn't. Definitely didn't get a sack. Definitely didn't make the play. So I don't know what the heck he was doing. I think he was like dropping back or something like that. But oh yeah, it was all get out. Just everything, all technique was just out the window. I was just in survival mode. Very first snap, college football. Luckily enough, though, I definitely settled down a little bit, got into the groove, and learned how to control myself when I was getting out on the field.
Well, mission accomplished. It doesn't matter how it looks as long as they don't touch your quarterback. That you did your job. Right?
You're right about that. As long as they don't get a sack.
Outside of Carter Finley Stadium, what was the best stadium you played in?
Whew. Man, the best stadium?
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to go to a lot of really, really, really cool stadiums. going up to Notre Dame, that was probably a memorable one for sure. We played down in Charlotte, Panther Stadium a couple times. I think I got to play there. That was really, really, really nice. This past season, we got to go up to Virginia Tech, and it was COVID, unfortunately, so we didn't get the whole game day experience of Enter Sandman, all the whole that stuff, getting the crowd going. Just seeing some traditional college football things that you always see growing up on ESPN. You just kind of get to watch. It was always cool going to Clemson Stadium. It's always loud as I'll get out in there. Could never really hear what anyone's saying. Watching, just seeing like all the famous historical college football stuff. Going to Marshall was cool. Just a historic football program. I thought that I really, really enjoyed that. Where else? Oh, and everyone in the ACC, all up and down the East Coast. It's really, really cool getting to see some cities and just what you probably wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for football. You know what I'm saying? So I was definitely fortunate enough. Those are probably just the ones that come to my memory the most.
Yeah, funny thing about Marshall, I went to that game. You're walking up to the arena, the stadium, and out on the street they are selling chocolate-covered bacon. I never heard of that until I got to Marshall, but it does make you think. I started thinking after a while, you know what, that might actually have some potential.
I think you got Joe's interest, Matt.
Yeah, I want to try that. I thought I've heard of everything about in terms of food, but chocolate-covered bacon is definitely the first.
Yeah, good. I think they were on special, 2 for $1. You get 2 strips of bacon for $1. So that's
a deal, man.
Yeah.
Good reason for the listeners of the podcast to check us out on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube, subscribe while you're there, but you can see Joe's live reaction to Matt talking about chocolate-covered bacon. It's worth a watch on the YouTube channel. Joe, I want to ask you another question about your time at NC State, maybe a little bit more recent, but these last 2 years were kind of polar opposites in a way. Obviously last year, so much impact by COVID and everything, kind of a once in a lifetime type of college season, but the 4-8 year in 2019 turned into an 8-win season, record 7 ACC wins in 2020. I mean, being in the locker room, being a part of that team, at least from the outside, it seemed like the chemistry of last year's team was just so tight, and it had to have a positive impact on the results on the field. But if you had to give like one reason, or maybe two, as to what led to that turnaround from just one season with a lot of the same personnel, I mean, what do you think was the main difference from 2019 to 2020?
I think it was our approach in the off season. So after the 4-8 season, everyone was just, no one was happy. Obviously, it was a terrible season. We knew we were better. We knew we should have performed better throughout the whole season. And we just, it didn't really click for us that season. So we come in the following after the Christmas and all that. Coach Doran comes in. He's like, we're changing. There's only 2 things we're focused on: is competing, and just coming together as like a friendship. So we broke out, and he put a big emphasis on winning, put a big emphasis on getting after it and making each other better. And then he made a big emphasis on getting to know one another and just trying to come build that stronger, cohesive team, right? It's 120 guys in the locker room. It's kind of hard to, get to know and become best friends with everybody. But, within your unit, especially just getting to know who you're playing next to, who you're playing with, who you're playing for. So you have that bond, So you have that bond on the field, and it really showcased during when COVID hit. We unfortunately didn't get to finish spring ball. We were 3 or 4 practices into the spring ball, and we didn't get to finish it. And it kind of gave us a major phase of adversity. How are we going to keep on coming together during this time where, we can't come together? We're on lockdown. You're supposed to stay apart from everybody. Don't want to spread. You don't want the pandemic spreading. So we really emphasized on just holding each other accountable throughout the whole thing. So we actually started a group chat with the whole football team. Everyone was in there, and we were at home. You had to hold each other accountable over the phone. Like, are you making sure you're getting your workouts in and making sure you're getting your running in? The whole summer, guys were sending videos of like, hey, this is the drills I was hitting today. Here's me working out. Here's me squatting. Here's me benching. Here's me running sprints up and down the field. And it kind of started slow, but then it just multiplied, and guys really bought into the idea of like sharing, what the work we're doing. And it just wasn't just we're on vacation, we're hanging out, until this pandemic ends. We were working still, and I think that really it showcased, because I feel like that wasn't everyone across the country. I don't feel like every college program did that, and that I think was our setting edge. We were like, just because we may not at the time, we didn't know if we were going to play, doesn't mean we don't have to be ready. Our strength coach, Coach Under, says you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So we stayed ready for any situation that would come up for us. We were working, and when we got that go ahead, like, it's go time. We're running fall camp. We're going to play a game. We weren't behind the ball. We were in front of it. We were ready to get after someone, and really, I think it really was showcased in our opening game against Wake, and we just we tore them up a little bit. We came off with that 2 chips on our shoulder, really trying to showcase we're not the same we were the year before, but we're better. And I think that chemistry is just going to continue on this next season. I'm really looking forward to seeing my buddies, tear it up next year on the field, and win some more games, I think. So it was definitely you definitely kind of hit it off. It was polar opposite seasons, and I think we got gut checked a little bit, but we rose to the occasion, and we overcame.
You kind of touched on it. Go ahead, Matt.
I had to ask one more quick question about COVID-19. Did you ever get used to having that little swab stuck up your nose for a COVID test?
Yeah. I mean, actually, we actually got to the point where we were able to, do it ourselves, so we could speed up the process. But it's never really comfortable having that little Q-tip shoved in the back of your brain. But you kind of get used to it a little bit, I guess.
Well, I actually had a different question related to COVID. I know in the media we've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm sure everybody's sick of talking about it. But now, in your shoes, seems like we're kind of getting past this thing. Everybody's getting vaccinated. And now that you've kind of lived it and you've been there, I mean, what was it like during the summer? Because, I mean, back last July, the college football season was all but a certainty. I mean, there were definitely some times when the Big Ten decided they weren't going to play at one point. It seemed like the whole thing was about to collapse. I mean, just from your experience in the locker room, what was kind of the conversation between you and the guys? Like, if you're not going to get to play, what was the general feeling? I'm sure you guys wanted to play, but were you guys scared that you guys were going to lose that opportunity?
Yeah, man. No one in the country knew what was going to happen with sports, especially. Like, no one. It was the first time for everyone in terms of how they're going to come about this, how we're going to set protocols in place. So if we were going to do it, make sure everyone's staying safe, no one's increasing the chance of risk of getting COVID and all that. It was back and forth a lot of times, and we were like, well, are we even going to play? Like, are we going to get the chance to play? What if we don't play? What's going to happen? Am I just that was that at the time that would have been my last season, and I'm like, well, am I just done? Do I get an extra season? We didn't know if we were going to get an extra the year of eligibility. We didn't know anything, so it was definitely a anxiety-filled time, just not really knowing, because no one knew. So speculation was through the roof on what we were going to do. But as it turns out, we kind of just went back to what we're doing at the time, and that was we're just working, and whatever happens. You can't really control that, but you can control what you're doing today. And that was, I think, was just, really hitting back on what we said, is just the overall theme of what that season was, or the off season was for us.
And it obviously took a lot of team buy-in. I mean, you guys were one of the few teams in the country that played as many games as you did. I mean, I think only like Alabama or maybe one other team played more games than you guys did last year. So, based on that success, it was it kind of exhausting? Was that season exhausting to just kind of stay together and you weren't able to do the fun stuff that you normally could? And by the time you were through the season and after the Gator Bowl, was it kind of like a deep breath, we got through this thing, or was it something that maybe the media was making too big of a deal about how exhausting it really was?
Well, it kind of what your point is. It did take a lot of buy-in. It kind of took guys doing the right thing. Trying to eliminate or reduce the risk of being exposed to people that potentially did have COVID. That means not going out. You can't go to all these parties. That you can't be out socializing. You can't be going out to eat with a crowd of people. You kind of have to keep your circle small and just connected to the guys that were in that building every day. And I think we did a really, really good job of doing that. We had a couple outbreaks, but it's it's some things you just can't do. But I think we really minimized our exposure to COVID, and we did protocols to reduce the chances of guys getting it within the building themselves. I mean, we were sanitizing everything, cleaning everything. Masks were on in the building the whole time, working out with masks on, staying spread of feet apart. I mean, we were during fall camp, we actually had to move our offensive line meeting room because, we have 16, 17, 18 guys in the offensive line room. We can't all be in one small cramped room next to each other. We're big guys. We need some room to spread out a little bit just to get that 6 feet. So we actually had to move our meeting room off of the indoor just so we were 6 feet apart from everybody. So if someone did get test positive, it wasn't risking everyone else because we were following procedure, making sure everyone else was trying to stay safe. But yeah, it did just take buy-in, just following the rules that we made. And as new information came out and was developed, we followed that procedure. And I think we really kind of were successful just in terms of buying into all that stuff and just listening to the process, or listening to the procedures placed, so we can just trust the process.
Matt, you got any other questions for Joe?
No, I think I'm good. I appreciate Joe doing this for us, and can't wait to hopefully hear his name called in a couple of weeks. And I appreciate all your time, Joe.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I always appreciate the looking out for us, and it always feels cool getting to talk to you. I mean, I know you, Matt, since I was a kid in high school, so it seems like it's been forever.
I had one more question for you, Joe, before we get before we leave here. Matt kind of talked about your favorite block of college, but what was your favorite win as a team during your time at NC State? I mean, there was definitely some good ones during your career, but was there one that stuck out? Maybe the environment stuck out, or just the prestige of the win, or was it a rivalry? What would it be if you had to pick one?
Ooh. I would say when we played in the Hurricane against Notre Dame and Carter Finley, my true freshman year, so I wasn't even stepping on the field yet. That was probably there was maybe like 10,000. It wasn't, the stadium was empty. We're literally playing in the middle of a hurricane. Wind was whipping, rain coming down. We were staying on the sidelines with 3 inches of water, and our cleats were soaking wet. There was nothing staying dry, and field was slippery, ball was slippery, everyone was slipping on the field. And we pulled through with a block punt, and we were able to come out with a win. And that was probably the most one that sticks out to me the most, just because of the situation we were in, playing Notre Dame, playing during a crazy storm. I mean, it wasn't just raining outside; it was a literal hurricane coming through. So that was probably the craziest win. I had a blast on the sideline. All my buddies had a blast on the sideline. We were freshmen. We weren't playing. We were going crazy, huddling up, trying to stay warm, stay active, just stay in the game, because the atmosphere was kind of lax just because of there wasn't anyone else there weren't that many people in the stadium. That was a good one, and probably the close second would be Louisville, my redshirt freshman year. So after that following year, I went in at center, and that was the first time I got snaps in at center, and the stadium was just rocking. It was a night game against Louisville, and the stadium was just packed, loud. It's probably the loudest I've seen Carter the whole 5 years that I was there. It was a great game time experience for sure.
Two good.
Well, I got one more quick question. How many hurricanes have you been through in your lifetime?
Living on the beach, I mean, a couple. More than a couple, a few. Most of the time, by the time they hit, they turn tropical storms. But I've been through a few hurricanes. Fortunately enough, it wasn't anything massive, and we were able to family stay safe and all that. But definitely some memories were made during the time I was in Carter Finley up in Raleigh for sure.
I can remember the Notre Dame media that was at that game. I mean, we were all it's kind of scary to see the light posts going like this. The people from Indiana had never been through a tropical storm of any kind, and it's needless to say they were not happy about being there in that game. So it was memorable.
Well, plus being up in Vaughn Towers with those high speeds. I mean, Matt, you were inside. You weren't away from the rain. So Joe, I was a student there. I was at that game in a poncho, and I've never felt rain where it hurt. Like the rain actually just it hurt to get hit by the rain. But man, that was a I mean, you couldn't even see the ball half the time. I mean, it was just a wild experience. But Joe, two good picks there. Thank you again for being on, and obviously all of Wolfpack Nation is rooting for you, waiting to hear your name called. So best of luck over these next few weeks. For our listeners at home, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to us. We're on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Google Play. You can always watch us on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. Use our promo code 5PACK. That's the number 5PACK. It's only good through this weekend, so hurry up and use it. You get 1 month, get 4 months for free, so 5 months for the price of one. Go to wolfpacker.com, use that promo code. Follow us on Twitter at the Wolfpacker. Give us a like on Facebook, NC State Wolfpack, on the wolfpacker.com. And for Joe Sculthorpe, Matt Carter, this is Justin Williams, and this has been the Wolfpacker Podcast.